Welcome back to another wonderful episode of Divinely Uninspired, episode number 37. 37. We're getting up there.
We're old.
We are. Almost as old as you.
Oh my gosh.
I quit.
What did I say? What did I say?
Don't ask for anything else from me, Rusty.
Ever again?
Ever again.
That did it?
Yep, that did it.
We
You're
had
on
a
my
very
bad side.
we had a very fragile relationship.
Just make sure that when it is her age, you don't say it.
Well, we're still pretty far off from 53. So, but
Penny, you look great.
Paul, this is why we're friends. Thank you.
you should have heard what he said before you got in the room. Well, that was a weird intro, but we're going to just plow through. This is Rusty. I'm here with Jeremy.
Hello.
Hey, you're over there drinking your liquid death.
I love Liquid Death.
Is it flavored now?
So I gave up sodas, except for we were in Orlando, for Jesus for Lent. And so I've been drinking a lot of soda water again. And they have 3 flavors. They have mango chainsaw, and then they have buried alive, and then something lime, but I didn't like the lime one. But this mango chainsaw is my favorite.
It's like they asked 13-year-old boys to name drinks.
Yeah. And honestly, like my kids think it's cool because the cans look cool and the box looks cool, but it actually is some of the best sparkling water I've ever had.
I might have to try it sometime. Give me a sip. And you already heard the wonderful alto sounds of Penny's voice.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome back.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you went in the other room for a few minutes.
Okay.
And joining us again is Mr. Paul Roughton.
Hey,
Now
I'm back. Yep.
Now I'm questioning it.
Okay. It's like crouton
Yeah, that's
without the C, but that's not how you pronounce it. So,
yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Now you were confusing me.
It's okay.
So Ted Lasso is back. Have you watched it yet?
No, so the shows like that they come out just one at a time. Like I like to get a couple of them stacked up before I start to do it. So I can't because I know
You can't talk about. Okay, we won't spoil anything.
Did you watch it?
I did.
Oh.
I did.
I know I'm gonna want to watch more than one, and so I like to get 2 or 3 stacked up and then watch them in a row.
It was. Have you watched it, Paul?
No, we like to wait till the host season's out and then get Apple Plus for a month and then watch it.
This
Cancel
is
it.
gonna be a conversation between me and my good friend Penny.
No, I
she
haven't
didn't watch
watched it.
Oh,
She
you
hasn't
haven't watched
watched
it?
it.
You watched
Mandalorian.
Mando. Yeah.
None of you have watched it yet?
No.
Okay, well, here's what happens.
I bet he
So Rebecca sells the club to Nate's dad, and Nate comes back and fires Ted, and Keely and Roy are having a baby. There you go.
None of
I
that's
mean, some
happening.
of that could happen.
It's not happening.
No, it's not. But I fully expected you all to do your homework and to watch the episode.
We did. I didn't know till yesterday we were going to talk about Ted Lasso.
It just says Ted
Of course,
Lasso
we're
talk.
going to talk about.
I mean,
Ted
I'm
Lasso.
super excited about it, but I do like to stack episodes.
All right.
So next
Well,
week I'll be prepared because I'll watch 2 episodes.
All right, we will give a weekly update, or I guess it'll be a bi-weekly update on Ted Lasso.
So yeah, in 2 weeks. So we record every other week. So in 2 weeks I'll be 3 episodes in at that point.
All right,
Why
we
don't
can.
you just have like a second podcast where you discuss Ted Lasso?
You know, this was going to be Divinely Ted Lasso, but we decided that maybe that was a little too niche
Yeah.
of a podcast, because podcasts are supposed to be for broad things. You don't
That's a
have niche
broadcast.
podcasts.
I'll tell you a show that I have started watching
Boom.
that we could talk about because no one else is going to watch it. Have you watched Animal Control?
Yes.
Yeah, I actually like it.
I do too.
I
Joel
don't think
McHale.
I like everything he's in, but Animal Control, it's really good. It's on Hulu.
He was also in Community, which was a great show.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Talk Soup. He was great.
Yeah, oh, I love the soup.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I still replay clips from my favorite clip he ever did was of Liz Taylor being asked if she was getting remarried, and she howls. Literally, she answers no, and then she starts to howl. She says, "I'm going to howl now," and then she howls, and it's one of the best clips ever on television.
We used to say chicken cachatory at our house.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did too.
They were on the Kardashians before most people, and
Yeah, he always knew how to
Kim
intro-
Kardashian's in the
I-
room if she wants to say hello.
I do like the Kardashians.
You like them or you like the show?
I like the show.
I
'Cause
was
they seem
setting
like
you-
terrible people.
I was
They
setting you up for
really
the
are.
impression.
You know, this is gonna be my hot take. Kim Kardashian is actually like doing some pretty cool stuff with like trying to get people off of death row.
Yeah,
Um,
like records.
Yep.
No, not record. Like people actually on
She
death
signed
row,
Snoop.
and she's like pushing for amnesty for people and stuff like that. Which okay, she's using her celebrity for something.
I still don't understand why they're famous. I'm gonna be honest.
Well,
Like,
if you watch the soup, you'd know why.
We probably shouldn't get into
No,
it.
we probably
That's
shouldn't.
yeah.
definitely inappropriate.
Part of it is because their father helped get O.J. Simpson acquitted.
Is she
Right.
doing this because of guilt from that?
I think so.
Yeah.
Chris Rock had a whole thing on it
Yeah.
in his new special, but we won't go there.
Okay.
So let's talk about March Madness because it officially starts today.
Well, it started 2 days ago, but nobody cares about those
The playing
playing
games.
games.
So my team isn't in it, and so I really don't care at all about March Madness this year. But you guys didn't care about Ted Lasso, so
We care about Ted Lasso. I care too much. I have to watch 3 episodes in a row.
Listen, that was one of the few shows that everybody loved that I watched and said, "Oh, they're right. This show is great."
yeah,
It really is.
It's kind of like we were talking about this earlier. It's kind of like The Wire.
Yeah.
The Wire doesn't need anybody else to try to convince you to watch it. It's good. Everybody knows it's good.
And you also gave us one day to watch it. Like literally, you told us
I
yesterday.
didn't give you anything to do. The Apple TV people did.
And it released the same day as Mandalorian releases.
I wish Apple TV, all the episodes are filmed. I wish they would do what like Netflix does and just release it all at once.
They're not
Yeah.
filming these like live during the week.
Yeah, I just wish they just do it all at once.
Yeah,
I
this
agree.
And then people drop
nonsense.
their thing right away. This is at least 2 months of Apple TV that you have to pay for.
It's true. How many episodes this season?
Probably 9.
9 or
Okay.
10 is what they
Yeah.
usually
I need to
average.
make sure because I don't have Apple, so I need to
Wait until it's over, and
Yeah.
need to at least get halfway through before I get the subscription.
$6.99 is really
that
putting
what it
putting
is?
you under, huh?
Is that all it is?
There's
Yeah.
there's no way.
There's
Apple
a lot,
TV,
but here's the thing: there's a lot of good shows on Apple TV.
Shrinking is really
Yeah,
good.
Shrinking's really good.
Mm.
There's some good movies. They have some good movies too. They Tom Hanks has done a couple movies for them that's pretty good. There's a movie we watched recently. I can't think of it. It'll come to me later, but it was really good. I've enjoyed most of the content on Apple TV.
Their
Okay.
Christmas thing with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. Was
Oh, I
very
did
good.
watch
Yeah, I
that.
Yeah,
love that.
Spirited.
It's good.
Yep.
That was a weird pause after that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Paul, could you keep your mouth closer to the microphone?
I'm sorry. Yes.
It's okay.
Did you see that Rod Reynolds just sold his cell phone company for $1 billion or
Yep,
something like
he
that?
is now officially a billionaire.
I mean, he has been obviously. I like Ryan Reynolds a lot, but like business wise, he's been killing it.
Yeah,
Like
him and Rihanna,
yeah, and what's his name? George Clooney sold his tequila company for a
Mhm.
couple $1 billion, I think.
the
So-
triumvirate of business actors.
Ryan Reynolds is really winning at life. He has a lot of good things going for
And
him.
he's also very funny and self-aware.
And I love like when him and his wife go at each other like on Twitter
know.
and stuff. Like they seem like they actually have like a health. Like you think about all these celebrities, they seem like they're all bad relationships, and they actually seem like they have a good relationship.
Yeah,
And
they give the
actually,
rest of us hope.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, there was a, I guess it was a TikTok challenge that Tom Holland, Spider-Man, did this challenge where he put a T-shirt on while doing a vertical push-up. I don't know. Apparently, that's a new challenge for people that are in shape. And he challenged Ryan Reynolds publicly, and Ryan Reynolds released a video of him just looking at the camera and be like, "No, I'm not doing this. This is stupid." Which
What is a vertical push-up?
Like a handstand push-up. You do
yeah.
them in CrossFit and
yeah,
stuff.
I don't know what you call them for real. I'm not into
A
exercise.
handstand
things.
push-up.
Okay.
I just lift coffee cans filled with cement for my exercise. So it's actually what we did in the Dominican. It was very ingenious when you think about it. Just take 2 coffee cans, put a pole through them, usually a stick of some sort that can hold the weight, and then just do a little bench pressing. 5 pounds on this side, 5 pounds on this side, but it doesn't exactly come out even. So, because
So your bench press 10 pounds.
yeah, well, I wanted I wanted to ease into things. So March Madness, are we even going to bother talking about it?
It's dumb.
Kentucky
I mean,
made it?
Kentucky's in. Yeah, they're a 6 seed, but they're probably going to lose Friday. So the big thing about Friday is and I'm a Kentucky fan, but and I say this, I'm over Cal. Like I'm done with this guy. And so the thing is that we lost 3 players last year who have all gone on to the team that they're on now, and not only are the leading scorer, but conference player of the year. So the most successful of them have been Bryce Hopkins, and he is Providence's star. He's having 20 points a game, first team, all Big East, and of course that's who we drew was Providence first round, and they're actually a good team outside of him. They're a pretty decent team, and so I just don't believe in this. I wouldn't believe in Kentucky, and I mean who knows they can make a run, but I'm not even optimistic they're going to get out of the first round. So I don't really care.
Yeah.
But hey, you got Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. So
Well,
sports
that's
is
not.
Did you see what he said yesterday? That
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
about it's really not even debatable that I'm the best player in franchise history.
Which he probably is. I mean, talent wise,
Better than Bart Starr.
Bart Starr won more, but if you think about when Bart Starr played, like they didn't have face masks. Like they were, I mean,
they were bench pressing coffee kids.
Yeah, they were bench pressing coffee kids.
They were real men.
Yeah. No, I think Bart Starr, like iconically, because he won so many championships, is probably. But I mean, talent wise, I mean that's the thing about Aaron Rodgers, and I will say this: like, he obviously has not had the success that Tom Brady had, but talent wise, I mean, he is arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. His ego is also one of the biggest egos that have ever been in the NFL, and that's why I think a lot of people don't like him. So,
not humble like Tom Brady.
Not humble like
That's right.
Tom Brady's not exactly humble.
Yeah. Penny, do you have a team that you're rooting for?
No, because my team's not in it.
I
think Kentucky will go out the second game.
Yeah, I'm not. They're not gonna make it past first weekend. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I think if they lose first round, the calls for Calipari's job get even louder.
Yeah.
I think that they never should have signed that lifetime contract.
Yeah, that's dumb.
It was a stupid thing to do. We are now 11 minutes into this intro, and we have yet to play our song. So we're going to do that. And then we've got all sorts of bits and giggles to talk about. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're listening to Divinely Uninspired, podcast by Journey Church Shepherdsville, hosted by Jeremy Willis and me, Rusty Wilson. You can find us online at journeyshepherdsville.com. For questions or comments, email podcast@journeyshepherdsville.com. Maybe we'll feature your question or comment on a future episode. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the show. So, Penny, you're a mom. And this first story is about moms. So what wisdom do you have as a mother to give the world?
Are we talking about like with a baby? Like with just like 2 babies or 1 baby?
I don't know. Just any wisdom. I mean, like I don't know. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of wisdom to give, but
I would say my wisdom as a mom is to make sure this is like really serious. Like,
yeah, it is. It's a very serious show.
I feel like you give up a whole lot of identity when they're little, like especially when they're born. So don't forget about yourself. Lose yourself in the process. I mean, I would tell you like sleep, but that's dumb. Like you don't get any sleep. Like that's the dumbest advice someone could possibly give you is sleep when the baby sleeps. No.
Don't forget yourself.
Don't forget yourself.
Penny Buddha.
I mean, I don't know why moms complain. I got a lot of sleep when our kids were babies.
I know. See,
I'm just kidding.
The worst part, I mean, it was actually pre-child, but it was in the process of the child being formed.
the process of making a baby. Go ahead.
No. Never mind. But my wife had hyperemesis, so she was like super sick. Emesis means to throw up, and hyperemesis means to throw up a whole lot. And for 9 months, she actually was hooked up to an infusion pump, which is what they give cancer patients on really bad chemo to keep them from vomiting and dehydrating. And the worst part about it was she was so loud, I couldn't hear the TV. And it was like, hey, can you keep it down over there with the vomiting while you're producing kidneys for another human? That'd be wonderful.
I can't believe you're still married.
Me neither. Neither can she, actually. I've got blackmail on her.
I think she doesn't want to raise those kids alone.
That's probably it.
No, we don't feel that way as moms. We're good.
But, well, here's the thing. So there is a mom in Argentina who had twins, and they were about 3 months old or so, and she called the police. Do you know why she called the police? Well, you do because you read the article, but pretend you don't. Say
what?
She could not tell her twin babies apart, and she wanted them to come fingerprint her children to tell her which one was which. So this woman, Sofia Rodriguez of Cordoba, Argentina, recently tweeted in Spanish, "I won the Mother of the Year award. I have to go to the police tomorrow to have my twins fingerprinted so they can tell me which one is which." So she goes on to say that her twins, Valentine and Lorenzo, look slightly different in photos, but in person they are the same. Normally, normally. Valentine always wore a blue ribbon so that she knew which one was which. I get just office vibes.
That's what I immediately went there.
Yeah.
Like just
I
draw a mark on them.
Put a mark on mine.
Yeah.
And it started getting a little too small around the baby's wrist, and so she cut it off, and then she forgot which one was which, and she had to go and get them fingerprinted at the Argentinian police headquarters. And I can't think of a better use of the police force than to identify which baby is yours.
I don't like. I mean, this story's so weird. Yeah, The Office case, first thing. That's one of my favorite episodes. But why did? I mean, I guess she needed to know how to tell them apart. But like, I don't know. Like, it just seems weird.
Remember when you'd have shame and you wouldn't put this on the internet to be a
like,
story?
why
And
was
you're
it
like,
so
"Oh, I just
pressing?
wanna
She
be-"
had to know right then which one was which.
I don't think it was. I think she could have just interchanged their names.
That's what I'm saying.
Until
Like,
they're
just
old enough
until
to
they're old
know.
enough that they're distinguishable, and then
Oh, you're Lorenzo.
oh,
now.
you're Lorenzen, and you're nobody knows. I mean, yeah.
Well, and also too, like, why the police? I mean, put some paint on the bottom of that foot, or you just
Well,
have
yeah,
the-
but she has to have fingerprint comparisons done.
I would just write on their arm with a Sharpie their name until they were old enough
Just
to tell them
tattoo a
apart. Who
dot.
cares?
Just
Yeah.
tattoo a dot. They're not going to remember their baby.
Pierce something.
Yeah, just
So-
tattoo them.
yeah. So my husband's an identical twin.
He is?
And- Yeah.
I didn't know that.
hmm
Oh, Penny, why?
Yeah. So I would ask his mom, like, how did you tell them apart as a baby? And she would paint one of the toenails of one of the babies.
Have they ever pulled a prank on you? That's what I would love to do if I was an identical twin.
I've known
You
Terry.
come home and you're like, "Hey, babe," and it's his brother. And,
No, see, so their names are Terry and Jerry, which makes it worse.
Oh no, it's not.
Why not Tom? Why not Tom?
So Terry and Jerry, and the dad's name's Jerry too. So it's Terry, Jerry, and Jerry.
Oh,
This is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
Yes.
So so she used to paint the toenail, but like I've always been able to tell them apart.
What color did she paint the toenail?
Did
she do like Korean flag?
I mean, it's like that's so
she's very
terrible. I'm going to tell
patriotic.
her that. I'm going to
You
tell her.
should.
that.
She would love it. You're
sure she listens.
Listen. Mother-in-laws love me, except for mine.
Well, I would ask her like, is there any chance? Like, is there a chance like you got them mixed up as a like baby? And she's like, oh no, like I knew. I'm like, they're probably one.
Did you
I'm
hear that
probably
little
married.
accent creep in? I heard it. I heard it.
Come in and
It
get her
came
take
in.
better of it and then slide out
Oh
of it.
yeah. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. I'm not going to do that. Never mind.
I do it all the time.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Does she like it or does she hate it?
No, she's used to it.
Does your husband like it?
What, the Korean
Yeah.
accent I make up
mean,
every time I talk
Is it
about her
like?
mom?
Does it make him feel more Korean that his
No,
wife?
that
will
is
do an
that is
accent?
getting weird. No.
Oh, okay.
doesn't.
Well, I'm not
I
trying to
don't
be
like
weird.
use it at home. I just when we're having a conversation about his mom, I'll like put her little accent in with my voice. It's fun. It's like storytelling.
So they didn't pull pranks on you.
I mean, I could tell them apart. I've known them
Yeah.
since I was like 12. So to me, it doesn't make. They have.
They pull pranks on other people.
Oh, yeah, all
I
the
wanted
time.
identical twins so bad just to do
They
that.
kiss
Yeah.
differently, so she
Yeah.
knows.
and like his mom used to dress them alike till they were in high school, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just
So-
would love to see your husband in like one of those little sailor suits that they used to put kids in for their photos. You know what I'm talking
Right.
about?
Yes.
I would think that would
So
be
next
fun.
time they're in town,
As
I'll
an
bring-
adult, you want him to be in a sailor suit?
Yeah, why not?
Why?
He's in the military.
That's weird.
That's what I thought. I didn't know if even as a baby or like as an adult. You
No, I
wanted-
prefer
Definitely
it.
not the military.
I'd prefer it now.
It's
Yeah.
like not good, Rusty.
Why?
It's weird because I'm having this vision and I need for it to stop.
Wow.
Or just imagine Jerry. It'll be okay.
That's right. There you go.
Just imagine Jerry.
Problem solved.
Oh gosh.
So, do we think this woman is mother of the year? Like
I
she
think
says?
so. I mean, I don't think any other mom would go that far. Like, if you really want to know them apart. But I'm with you. I'm like, just call them a name, 1 and 2, until they get distinguishable, and then be like, all right, this is you and this is you.
Yeah.
You know?
Not like they know their names.
Yeah.
I mean,
They don't even know they're people yet.
Babies are idiots.
They
they're
are.
cute, but yes.
I mean, horses, 45 minutes after they're born, are running around a field knowing how to get food.
Oh,
And
It's
babies,
years.
it's like years. I
Ugh.
mean, just,
get with it, babies.
we might be the most intelligent creatures, but we don't start out that way.
We don't end that way
That's
either.
what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
So,
Man, life is
go
depressing.
humanity.
All right. Well, let's leave the Rodriguez family to be, and there's no mention of dad in this. I think this is his fault. This is what happens when
I
you've
think
got
the
an
dad was
absentee
like, I
father.
don't want any part of this, because
Right.
that's what I would be like. I would be like, don't mention me. Don't even say we're married. Like, if I don't want any part of this
Mm.
story coming out.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about somebody we haven't talked about in a while, and
I wish we never had to talk about him again.
I wish so either, but at the same time, I love this story so much because it is just okay. So we've talked about this pastor down in Tennessee.
Don't even use that term for this guy.
Okay, he's a snake oil salesman.
Yeah, there we go.
A huckster, a false prophet, possibly the Antichrist himself.
It might be.
But his name is Greg Locke, and he had a movie, and I use that term loosely, a film rather, come out this past week with several other deliverance ministry individuals. Penny, do you know what a deliverance ministry is?
No.
Paul, do you know what a deliverance ministry is?
Does it have something to do with demons?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Being delivered from demons. And so this film is apparently them, casting out demons from people.
Wait, that's what the movie is?
Yes. In the movie, here's the name of the movie. You ready for this? It's beautifully titled. Come Out in Jesus' Name. There was a certain community that had some fun with this title, especially because Greg Locke doesn't like that community. But Come Out in Jesus' Name. And this movie had an opening at several theaters, and you're never going to guess what happened. Any ideas? Did you read the article?
Yes.
Oh, okay, then you know. People started being delivered from their demons in the theater.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
It never crossed my mind to think of what is this movie about? Is this an actual movie of them casting demons out, or what's going on in this movie?
It looks to me like a amalgamation of several sermons being given and people being delivered.
The movie does, or the poster? Because I saw the poster. It
the
looks
movie.
Like, okay.
Yeah. So I've got some clips here that of people being delivered by, quote unquote, being delivered by from their demons. Do you want to watch them or no?
You're going to put them on the big screen?
Yeah.
I was just thinking, are we going to watch them on your computer?
Yeah.
Theater of the Mind, Penny.
I couldn't even click on the links,
Well, that's a shame.
the videos.
Let's see here. Let's see if I can play this for you. This is individual who's being delivered. That is a public movie theater.
I'm actually terrified.
It's and that wasn't even the best one. There's I
would go to the movie just to watch that though.
Me too. I really like the gesticulations that the people who are delivering people from demons do. It's a lot of hand waving and shaking and jazz hands.
But why would the people that need to be delivered from a demon be at the movie in the first place?
You'd think the demon would say, I don't want to go see that.
Yeah, we're not going to that movie today.
Cocaine Bear's still
Cocaine
going
Bear's
on.
out.
That's right. I do believe that we should not do a watch party for this movie. I don't want to see this one.
I mean, it's just like a modern version of those tent revivals. I mean, and those tent revivals, the reason they don't really happen anymore is because it became public knowledge. Like, they staged it. They would just have people, intentionally go to those things and do these things so that people, like, believed that was happening. Like, and I'm not trying to get into, like, the whole thing with, like, speaking in tongues and gifts, but, like, if you go to some of these types of churches, like, they teach you how to do it. And they teach you, like, when you feel this way, then you should do this. And, like, they actually train you and kind of brainwash you to, like, believe this stuff. But no, like, I think this is just like a modern version of the tent revival is, those type of things. But those were all, like, they found out, like, staged, most of them.
Yeah, the snakes had been drained of their venom.
But even like the healings, like there would be people that clearly did not need to be in a wheelchair, wheel them up, person walks out of the wheelchair. Everybody believes it. I'm going to give my money, my time, my energy to this person now because I just saw somebody walk out of a wheelchair, and it's been well documented. I can't say all of them, but it's been well documented. A lot of those famous ones were all staged.
Benny Hinn?
Yeah, staged.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's for sure. Is this an American thing that goes on, or is this Christian?
So this, I will say that this is a feature of Pentecostal branches of Christianity, which is the fastest growing
in the world, I think.
In the world, yeah. And so it's very active in Latin America. It's very active in Africa. I don't know about Asia or South America. I'm sure there's there is some of that is happening in those
And I
places.
actually do believe in some, like we talked about before. I mean, like I actually do believe, and I have missionary friends that will tell you stories of stuff that would not lie, that would tell you like crazy things with demonic possession and stuff. This though feels very forced and staged. This doesn't, to me, and maybe I shouldn't judge it. It doesn't feel authentic. I mean, I think that's the best way
Yeah.
to say it.
Well, and that's testing the spirits,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I say me and Penny were talking about this before, and it's like I want like something like this happens, and you go, "Oh, that's awesome!" If that were true, but then I see Greg Locke and go, "Oh,
Yeah.
this."
We give him way too much
Doesn't
airtime.
But it's only to spotlight his falsehoods. Bring it on, Greg Locke. Actually, he would probably come try to fight me. So I'm going to read you this
Just
quote.
get those coffee cans ready.
That's
You'll
right.
be
That's
ready for
right.
'em.
Bring it on with my 5-pound coffee cans. This is a quote from somebody who was there that night, and I love the way the quote ends. Okay, Kelly Medina of Most High King Ministries watched from a theater in Austin, Texas, and received deliverance herself. It was interesting to see different preachers talk about their experiences with deliverance and encounters with demonic entities in the church. What surprised me the most was seeing firsthand deliverance in the movie theater and people helping people be set free at the end after the credits rolled and the preacher came back on screen instructing all those sitting to stand up and repeat after him. And this is where it gets really good. I experienced self-deliverance, threw up 2 times and felt much better, slept better, heard God better. She testified. So it sounds to me like she just had the stomach flu or something, but apparently she had a demon.
Well, what do you think? Biblically, you cast out a demon, send it into some pigs or something. Do you think those theaters are just full of demons now that they got cast out and then?
That's
A good question. I don't want to go to that. You sit in
Go
that,
to
it's
the
like
movie theater.
it's like getting lice. You sit down in somebody's chair that had lice. Now you got lice. The demon got put in that chair, and now sorry, you got a demon.
Yeah.
That's like the movie Smile. Did you watch Smile?
I have not.
Spoilers, no.
All right, stop. This is like random.
It's demons in Smile.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
I know what it is.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It wasn't very good.
It's got
No.
Kevin
It's
Bacon's
free to
daughter in it.
watch.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you can see it now, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
Her and Kira Sedgwick,
Yeah.
or him and Kira Sedgwick, rather.
Yeah.
She's got a very weird name. Sosie, Sosie.
Something. It's not Susie.
Well, I don't know. It's spelled Sosie.
Okay.
She was in Narcos. That's how I know.
Mhm.
Okay, let's move right along. So, Greg Locke's a false prophet. Let's keep going.
Yeah, but does it have Tim Blake Nelson in it?
The come out in Jesus' name?
That we just have to mention his name every week.
Yeah.
Remember?
No, he's a Jew, so I don't think.
Yeah, I didn't. I figured
Is
he
he?
was.
He is.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
Jewish.
He's a Jew.
But remember,
We
we
love
said we're gonna
Jews.
start mentioning him every week to see if eventually.
That's true.
Yeah,
Hashtag Tim Blake Nelson.
but I don't think he's in this movie or in Smile
Hashtag.
Or in Cocaine Bear.
or in Cocaine Bear.
He
He would have been great for Cocaine
He
Bear.
would have
It
been.
really would.
Now that I think about that, he would have been anyway. So go ahead.
So we're going to talk a little bit here for just a quick second before we get into what does Jeremy think. So there is this archaeologist in Israel, and his name is Gershon Galil, and he's a professor at one of the universities in Israel, and he has discovered what he claims to be a quote-unquote curse tablet that dates back to the days of King Hezekiah. And he's claiming that this is now the oldest piece of biblical manuscript ever discovered. And there are 34 other archaeologists who are calling bull malarkey on it because he won't submit it to peer review. But he sent a low-grade picture of it and said, see, I told you. And they said, no, we're going to denounce this and write a paper saying that you're fraudulent here. And he said, nuh-uh, I've got this and you don't. And you'll come see it when I let you. And I love this quote at the end. It's by one of the other unnamed archaeologists. And it says, it's like saying you're disproving Einstein's theory of relativity, but you'll only publish the findings on Saturday Night Live, which I thought was pretty funny that they have SNL in Israel.
Mhm.
But yeah, so I just like when nerds get into fights about things that, they really care
That's
about.
all peer review is too, by the way.
Yeah,
I
it
think
really is.
Anytime you do something to peer reviewed, it's just
Just nerds.
nerds
Just
fighting.
nerds. Just
It's like their MMA.
It is.
It's like their octagon.
I'm going to disprove your Hezekiah curse tablet, which would be an awesome band name. Hezekiah curse tablet. Sounds like a really good like satanic band in the 70s.
Let's put it together.
Opening up for Black Sabbath and Judas Priest. Hezekiah curse tablet.
Actually, it is, yeah. Not the tablet.
I call the name. It's mine. You can be in the band.
Yeah, you can have it then.
All right, cool. So we're going to ask Jeremy, though, because this brings up a really good... do you all want to comment about the nerd spat?
No.
It wasn't a quote in the article, but I like how they said he wouldn't show him a picture. They were just jealous.
Yeah, yes. He did say that. That is...
Oh, man, you won't show it to us.
Yeah. See? Nerds. Those poor archaeologists.
What do you do with that? If you have this cursed tablet and you won't show anybody, you just put that in your living room? Where does that go?
Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like archaeologists had a chance to be cool. I mean, look at Indiana Jones. Like,
I so badly wanted to be an archaeologist only because of Indiana
and then
Jones.
they just do this, and it just brings them all back down. Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you all are mostly overweight old people that, like to dig in the dirt.
The picture's not flattering.
No, it's not either. It's really not a good picture. Paul, if you don't speak into that microphone,
I'm sorry.
I'm going to tape it to your head.
How would that help?
Because you wouldn't be able to turn without your mouth being on it.
So one of my favorite bands, what used to be Mute Math. Do you remember Mute Math? So their drummer was like known for being like crazy. And so his headset, he like always like fling off and stuff so you could hear what else was going on in the band. So at the beginning of every Mute Math show, the lead singer comes out and the drummer gets on the drums and he takes a roll of duct tape and duct tapes the guy's whatever in-ears or his headset onto him. And it's just kind of fun. It's like how they start the show.
Yeah, you cannot move from that position. People are wanting to hear what your words are, but they can't because you sound like you're far off in a land not near us.
Yeah, Coach.
Yeah.
Your cup says Coach Paul.
Oh,
I'm
Coach
sorry.
Paul.
I thought that.
I thought maybe that was a Ted Lasso throwback.
No, his cup here says Coach Paul. So
well, he coaches many things. He's a.
Please go on.
Oh goodness, I love when you're on, Paul. It's so much fun. So we're going to find out what Jeremy thinks, because anytime that there are archaeological discoveries out there that like support or quote unquote prove the Bible's narrative of history, it always gets a whole lot of attention. But what about when there are biblical, quote unquote, biblical archaeological discoveries that don't line up with the Bible's account of history or the archaeological record? And so I guess the question is twofold. Like, what do you think of those discoveries? And then how much does the history according to the Bible really matter? So let's find out.
Yeah, so I wrote some notes down. I think it's cool when it does match up, and that does happen, so it's not always against it. So there are some things that happen. I do think one thing, I remember my professor telling me this when we were studying this a long time ago in the class. He said, archaeology can't prove or disprove theological understandings. So it's limited in what it can do. And I don't want to attack archaeology, although we've made fun of all the archaeology nerds, so they probably just lost all them. But I think archaeology, one thing important to remember about it is it gives us a better understanding, but not the exact understanding of what was going on. And so sometimes when they make discoveries, and you can study this for yourself, they're taking major leaps sometimes when they find things. So like it helps us understand the story of the world better, but it always doesn't tell the whole story. And so, we've seen this where they'll find one piece of something, and then all of a sudden they'll make this whole kind of story about this one piece. Dating, obviously we've gotten more advanced in that, so that helps us tell that story better. But I think you go back to peer review. I think sometimes what we see is when they find some of these things, whether it's for or against, when it goes to peer review, sometimes it doesn't always hold up. And I think that sometimes is one of those things where, depending on what side of the aisle you're on. So all that to say that archaeology is pretty cool, but it's not always right, and it's not always exactly 100% accurate. And so I think that's really important to understand about archaeology, just as in a nutshell, is it helps tell the better story, but it doesn't always tell the whole story. And so some of these things that, you see where it disproves the Bible, and not just the Bible, it disproves other parts of history, what you'll find a lot of times is later on under peer review, or somebody else will come back and actually find out that some of those findings were false, or that maybe sometimes they jump to conclusions. And I think too, sometimes in the stuff I've studied with archaeology, and I think it's just human nature, everybody has an agenda. So like when they find stuff, I feel like they have an agenda sometimes about some of these things that they're discovering, which helps tell the story of what they found and all those type of things. So I don't get hung up on it. I do think though, one of the things that's important to remember, less about archaeology and more about just kind of this historic record, is and we talk about this in the what is class a lot, is that the historic record of the Old Testament, and I do think that's where most of the controversies, I would say, probably come from, is Old Testament stuff versus New Testament first century stuff. Um, we talk about this a lot. The Old Testament is based upon oral traditions that were told from generation to generation to generation. So, even if you believe that Moses, which some scholars, and I'm not a scholar, but I kind of fall in this camp, have a hard time with believing that Moses wrote the Pentateuch. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Even if you believe that he wrote that, he doesn't show up till Exodus. So everything that happens in Genesis is predating Moses, and some of it by hundreds, if not thousands of years, some of these stories. Um, the other thing about the Old Testament when it's written down is, of course, it's based on oral tradition, stories handed down. And it wasn't like today where they were always so hyper focused on getting the time right and the dates right. And it wasn't always time stamped. There wasn't GPS coordinates, so they couldn't always even say exactly where it was. Sometimes when they're describing some of these stories, they're kind of, it seems like telling roundabout details about where this took place, but it's never like today where, if something happened in our world that is a major, we know exactly where it happened. We know what street it happened on. We know what building it happened on. We know what floor it happened on. We have all this information that they didn't have access to, and I don't honestly think they cared. Like, I don't think it doesn't seem like all the time that they're super focused on writing all of these things down and getting all the exact dates and locations right. Which in our world, and we talked about this in the West class, doesn't make sense because we're Western educated. We live in a modern world. So we want all that information. In the ancient world, it seems like sometimes they just weren't that focused on it. They were more focused on the story and the meaning of it, less about some of the details of some of these things. So that makes it difficult because when you're trying to find a place or they're uncovering stuff and you're using the biblical record, it's not always going to align maybe with what they found, depending on dating and then also even the location of where it is. I had a professor one time tell me one thing that's interesting when you go to the Middle East, but other parts of the world, and he used to go a lot. And he said that you'll drive past these large mounds of dirt and you'll ask them, well, what is that? And they'll say, well, that's some ancient town or city that we haven't uncovered yet. Or because it's expensive, someone has to show the initiative to do that. And so he says, when you go to like the Middle East, especially, like you'll drive past all these little like mounds, hills of dirt, or some ruins, and just nobody's had the time or the money to actually investigate those things. So all that to say, like, it can be a little bit murky, I think, when it comes to the biblical record and comparing it to archaeology. Um, and then I think the other big thing to remember is the world was just different back then. So different places were called different things. I remember when I was in seminary, one of our professors, he took out that biblical map that's in the back of all these Bibles. And he's like, a lot of this stuff we're just honestly guessing at, like where some of these things were called, because we're using other ancient records to figure out what these were called and what the location this was. And a lot of it's accurate, but there are some things where we're just kind of guessing on some of the stuff that goes on. Um, I think a big thing for me that came out of understanding the Old Testament, I know we're getting away from archaeology, but a big thing for me that when I talk about this in the What Is class, but conversations with, and I know Rusty will probably understand what this means, like people are so unfamiliar with Second Temple writings. And so if you're not, so the temple gets destroyed and then they rebuild the temple sometime in the 5th century BC. And that temple lasts from 5th century all the way till 70 AD when it gets destroyed again. So it's called Simple Second Temple, but there's also Second Temple writings. So a lot of the books that we read in the Old Testament, most scholars believe came out of the Second Temple and actually were books, at least in the way we see them, that may not have existed and probably didn't exist, in at least the way we read them, until Second Temple. So all that to say, all of these stories that we read in the Bible, if they come out of the Second Temple, we are talking hundreds, if not thousands of years after the events before they actually get documented in the way that we're reading them now. So if they're based on oral traditions and stories, you would expect there might be some details that get mixed around or messed up or misunderstood, which then again might fight against the archaeological record because it might have been a wrong error, or it might have been a wrong part of this town or a wrong part of this country. And all that to say, like, to me, it doesn't, and I hope this is making sense, it doesn't concern me when they don't match up because I have a better understanding of the Bible, and how we got it and some of these writings and where they came from and all this stuff. And then the last thing I would say is when I look at that world, I think another reason I don't get too hung up on it is that world has been redone so many times. I mean, you think about, and I mean, wars. I mean, think about World War One and World War Two. I mean, parts, and that's, I mean, you think about the Crusades, you think about, I mean, this part of the world that seems so important to our understanding of God and all that stuff. I mean, it's been destroyed and rebuilt several times. And, you talk about in World War II, I mean, we know that there was a lot of that stuff just destroyed, and never was rebuilt in the way that it was. And so I think the ancient world too, I mean, it's just been destroyed, rebuilt. And that just causes a lot of confusion and kind of getting accurate records of everything.
Well, and that's not even accounting when one empire in ancient times
Yeah.
would come in and destroy. I mean,
Those are modern wars. That's
Yeah,
not,
right.
like Alexander the Great and all them,
Right, and
Genghis Khan. I mean,
we
yeah.
know that there were libraries, like the Library of Alexandria. That, I mean, had we still had that, the amount of information and knowledge we would have had about the day and age in which those things were written, but it was burned to the ground, and so there is so much of that stuff that has changed. And I was just looking it up because just thinking about when you were saying, well, they don't totally know where some of these places are. Mount Sinai, which, I mean, you would think, oh, well, Mount Sinai plays a pretty important role in the Bible. We don't know where Mount Sinai is. There's like 10 different locations that it could be.
Yeah.
But to go with what you say, it's not really where Mount Sinai is, doesn't really matter.
Right.
It's what Mount Sinai represents.
It would matter in our world based on the way that we understand collecting and getting information. In their world, it wouldn't have mattered. And I don't think it matters to the story either, to your point. But yeah, I mean, in our world, we got to know exactly where this is. But in their world, they just didn't, that wasn't what they did. And it's not just the Bible. I mean, that's ancient Rome, that's Egypt. I mean, that's a lot of these ancient civilizations and ways of the world, like that just wasn't as important to them.
So I want to kind of piggyback on this because one of the things that you said was that the earliest stories from the Bible were based on oral tradition. And what would you say to somebody who said, "Well, I mean, the Bible is inspired by God," which, whatever that means.
Right.
If this was based on oral tradition and we don't really know where things were, or they incorrectly named a place, or they had it, the details wrong, does that mean that the Bible is not something we can trust?
No, I think that it's an understanding of the Bible. So, I mean, we go into great detail about this in the What Is class, which it's full, so you can't come. But next time we do it, you can more than welcome to sign up if you're interested. Uh, Part of that is, and this is a bad illustration. So we talked about the New Testament specifically. So New Testament documents, a lot of them, if you're a conservative scholar, and I hope everybody knows what that means, like you're thinking 20 or 30 years. If you're more of a liberal scholar, you think some of these documents maybe 70, 80 years after some of these events. So, but regardless, so let's say 20 years. Let's just use that as a number, that some of these events happen and then somebody finally writes it down. Okay. Well, when I say that in the class, people are kind of like confused. I said, all right, so tell me where you were at in 9/11. That was 20 years ago. I can tell you where I was at, what was going on, how I felt. I can tell you the people I sat next to at church that night when we went to church and like pray. Like I can tell you all these details. And that was 20 years ago, but it was such an influential event that I can still recall most of those details. And even if I can't recall them, you get a collection of people telling this story. We're going to be able to fill in all the details. And so these oral traditions are kind of built like that. Did everything happen exactly the way that it happened during that event? I don't know, but as these stories get told, they do grow, I think, sometimes in legend. But the overall primary meaning of the story stays the same. And I think that also, even though these are based on oral traditions, some people are like, what does that mean it's made up? No, the people that started telling those stories and the reason they spread as oral traditions is because those people believed that God had actually done some of those things. And in the historic world, it wasn't just Christianity that was how it worked. It was everything. That's how everything worked. That's how legends grew. That's how, we know more about the ancient world because of the Bible than any other document. And that's just true. And so, I don't think it makes it less trustworthy. I just think it means we have to adjust our understanding of the Bible and how we got it, um, and better understand how we got the book itself, or the books, I should say, that became the Bible.
Yeah. So, funny story about oral tradition. When I was teaching in the Dominican and was talking about this concept of oral history. One of the things about oral history is that it is self-policing. But just like what Jeremy was saying is, well, even if I can't remember exactly or whatever, or I get the details wrong, somebody else will correct that. No, that's not. And they were like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, let me give you an example. And I started telling the story of the three little pigs. And instead of pigs, I swapped in like, I don't know, wolves or something. Well, that's not even good because you got the big bad wolf. I don't know, another animal. It doesn't matter. But and I was just getting blank stares, like no familiarity with the story whatsoever. And so I was like, "Do you guys have the story of the three little pigs?" And they were like, "No, we don't have that story." And I was like, "Oh, well, this is a bad illustration." So I was trying to explain what I was saying, that if I were telling that story incorrectly, somebody else would come in and say, "No, that's not how the story goes." And I just moved right along. And several students were like, "Wait. What happened to the pigs?"
That's funny.
They were very concerned with the end of the story.
Yeah.
But it self-polices.
And I think even like ancient things, like I won't say ancient, but let's say a couple hundred years after events. Okay, well, all of us right here, even though if you're not a history person, because you understood the story, like you can tell me what Paul Revere did, right? And now somebody that studied, I mean, everybody, we all know Paul
Yeah,
Revere.
Midnight
right?
Ride.
Yeah, okay. So the British are coming. The
Yeah,
British are coming.
One by land, two by
Like,
sea.
so we all know that story, and that happened hundreds of years ago, but like we still have an accurate kind of understanding of what happened. And so even though none of us in this room could probably tell you the order of towns he went in, somebody could, so they're documenting that stuff. But we could tell you the basic understanding of what happened and why that was so important for our country that he did what he did that night. So we may not get all the details right if we try to tell the story of Paul Revere, but the overall what happened that truly happened, and we understand the importance of why that happened and why he did what he did. So even if in oral tradition some of the details get a little bit fuzzy or murky, the overall story is still intact. And I think that sometimes with especially some of the Old Testament stuff, that's where we have to get comfortable with. And just so you know, the Jewish people were super comfortable with it. And the Old Testament is really their books, they assembled and then we just kind of tagged on to. But they're very comfortable with that. It's all about interpretation, not that black and white kind of world, right? I mean, so
yeah, absolutely. The old joke is, put four rabbis in the room and ask them a question, you're going to get five opinions. And because it's not an insensitive joke. It's really just it's about Judaic interpretation of truth, really, about well, this is the way that I understand this to mean, and that's just the way that culture and that understanding of the world and the way we live, it's open to interpretation. So it wasn't a Jew joke.
I'm sorry, I got real tense when you start out with four rabbis in a room.
Yeah.
And like, oh boy.
Yeah, no, it's not it's a philosophical joke.
So any thought? I mean, because the average listener did not go through seminary like me and Rusty. So like even when I do the What Is class, like I've shared him stuff I share, and even he may see some of these things differently than I see them. But the general arc, we're kind of on the same page because we went through some of the same education. But like not everybody has heard some of that stuff before and is comfortable with that. So
I think that this is a fascinating subject, and I even told Rusty this yesterday because a lot of people feel like they have to have like a formal proof, like it makes them feel better as Christians or have a deeper faith when they do. I mean, not necessarily that I do, but I'm curious if is there anything like not necessarily documents wise, but proof of an actual event in the Old Testament that are, that they found or uncovered, or even like religious relics? Like, is there anything that you're like, yeah, that's probably true?
And just because I haven't studied it in a while, I know there is. Like, I know there's some stuff around David where they found some, like, of his temples. They found some stuff of Solomon, like, with the parts of the world where they think Solomon, had his kingdom that they found, like, because he basically built a garden in the middle of a desert. And so, like, there's been some historical evidence of some of those things where he's done it. There's been, I know a big one a couple years ago was the Hittites. Wasn't that it? The Hittites, where there was this people that are in the Bible, but nobody had ever heard of before outside of the Bible. And then they found this like stone thing that basically said to whatever the king of the Hittites, And so there's been stuff like that. So it hasn't always worked against the Bible. There have been, a lot of interesting discoveries that help prove that story. but the reality is you would have a hard time proving some of the stuff that was happening outside of the Bible in the rest of the ancient world, because the whole Bible wasn't the whole ancient world. Like the Jewish
Right.
people weren't the whole ancient world. So like if you think about Babylon, like some of the things that come out of that, and even like Xerxes, like, all that, you would have a hard time proving some of those things happened. But everybody just accepts it that Xerxes was this, this 7-foot king that, ruled the world. There's not actually a lot of evidence for that other than the legends and the stories. There's some, but it's the same thing with Bible and archaeology. There's some evidence, but again, to Rusty's point, ancient world. I mean, when Alexander the Great went in, like he went in and just everybody's going to be Greek. Like let's just wipe everything else out. Like it's Greek, and so we don't even know how much of the world was destroyed during that. And then even like First and Second Temple writings, we don't know. We don't really have a great picture other than some of the biblical stuff of what that first temple looked like and what was going on there. Most of our understanding of the Old Testament, I know people don't even understand what Second Temple is. Most of our understanding of the Old Testament comes out of Second Temple writings. Some scholars would even argue Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy were not widely distributed until Second Temple. So like their first books of the Torah, the versions that we have probably came out of the Second Temple, not so much out of whatever happened before that. So they're talking 587 BC, roughly.
Yeah, because most of the texted or the quoted texts that you find in the New Testament tend to be from the prophets, and the law, but not nearly as much as quotes from Genesis or Exodus. That doesn't mean that they didn't have a framework for those stories to be able to hearken back to, but they're not the dominant quoted text throughout most of the New Testament. So it's really pretty cool stuff. There have been some discoveries. I was just looking some up. I mean, probably the biggest one was the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah.
And that's, if you're not sure what the Dead Sea Scrolls were, there was this, it was in Iraq, I think. This sheep herder was out with the sheep, and it was some kids, and they were throwing rocks into caves, and they heard what sounded like pottery smash, and so they went inside, and there's all these pottery jars filled with ancient writings and scrolls, and there's still a lot of those that have not been translated. Still have to be worked through, but it gives us some of the oldest existing copies of like Isaiah and ancient
Because
texts.
it didn't predate the Septuagint, right? Isn't
Yeah,
that what they're saying? Yeah.
Yep. And so,
Which is another thing nobody knows anything about except for you went to seminary.
right.
Well, it's been a while, but isn't that the basis of the Case for Christ book? Like that, it's the guy.
We don't want to talk about that guy.
Is that no good?
No, he's okay.
Okay.
Not great. Okay.
I just,
okay.
but
He's
that,
like,
it's a little deductionist.
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I read that, but it was like that the guy just kind of.
It's a great launching off point.
Okay.
It's not necessarily like,
We'll just.
yeah.
I'll just back away
I'll
from
put
the
it.
mic.
No. I don't mean that to be insulting. Like it's a great launching off point for some of these ideas. But that book has faced some scrutiny, not just by secular scholars, even some biblical scholars. Some of the jumps that he makes and stuff. But
That's fair. I mean, okay.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
but not a bad thing. I think it's a fascinating world that we don't talk about a lot. But all that to answer the question, no, it doesn't hurt me when archaeology, because I have a better understanding of the ancient world and the Bible. And so when they find stuff, because they have found stuff that helps and they found stuff that hurts. And sometimes when they find stuff that hurts, my thought is, well, were they even looking in the right places? Or, like I said, there's so much from the ancient world outside of the Jewish story that we just don't have any real knowledge about. I mean, other than legends and traditions and stuff like that too. So, yep.
Interesting. Any more questions from the peanut gallery?
The dumb people here.
There's no dumb people.
No. All right. Well, we've got some things coming up here at Journey and some goings on that we're going to tell you about before we get to our final little piece of business here. Our ESL class has officially kicked off this past Monday. It was fantastic. We had a few families, and we are really excited about that. If you would like to volunteer with that, you can sign up on the Journey app. Summer camp, CIY, all of that is open for registration. You can talk to Kyle and Penny about those, depending on what age your child is. You can also find that information on the app. And then we've got our family ice skating. That is Saturday, March 25th. We're going to keep that open for registration. Cost is $25 per family or $9 per individual. You can sign up for that.
And we're going to have games. So if you don't skate, we're going to have games where non-skaters can participate.
That's
like
right.
broom ball.
Because I'm going to fall.
I love broom ball.
I fall when I'm on skates. But all that is on the Journey app. So we're not done with cocaine, okay? Specifically cocaine and animals together. And we reviewed the Cocaine Bear last episode, and it has just been revealed that there are more cocaine animal movies coming. This summer, swimming into theaters, Cocaine Shark. This is real. This is not a joke. The same people who made Cocaine Bear are putting together Cocaine Shark. And I told you it was theaters. It's actually just digital platforms.
It's a B platform.
But here's the deal. If you like Jaws and if you love cocaine, then you're going to love Cocaine Shark. That's not their tagline, but I just gave it to them.
So here's what I'm waiting for. I don't know, and I can pitch this. I maybe shouldn't even say it because it's going to be a brilliant idea. I'm waiting for Discovery or National Geographic or something, like I'm thinking Shark Week, to almost do like a cocaine week and do a whole week like Shark Week. Like what happens when animals get cocaine? I would love to see like the scientists, like actually, I would watch that episode.
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, obviously Cocaine Bear is very fictional. And we don't believe that hardly anything that happened and could happen or would happen if a bear, but I would love to know what would really happen if a bear just did like a healthy dose of cocaine.
A healthy dose.
What do you think a healthy dose is?
A couple lines.
I mean,
Couple
they're
lines.
pretty big. So, I mean, they can handle a couple lines, I think. But I mean, wouldn't you love to see like that episode of what happens when a bear, and then like, all right, so if a bear can handle it, what about, a shark?
Well, so I came up with some other ideas and I wanted to bounce them off of you for movies. And I'm pretty excited about some of these. So one of them was methamphetamine mongoose. Give a mongoose some meth and see what happens.
They already are like on meth. They feel like they're sporadic.
Angel dust otter.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so cute though.
Yeah,
Let's
they
not
are,
get
but
them.
they could be vicious. The heroin hippos. Have 'em
Okay.
shoot up.
Because people on heroin usually get real skinny and hippos are fat.
That's true. That's true. And maybe that would make Africa a little bit safer because hippos are the most dangerous. Paul, you don't want to engage in this at all? No alliteration with drugs and animals? No? All right. Well, Paul
It's
has
just
left.
rusty.
Paul left the room. I've got a million of these. I literally couldn't sleep last night. I told Paul I had the world's worst case of heartburn. And so I was up just typing away on my phone. What are some drug and animal names that sound like they go together and could be a fun movie? This is going to be our series. This year we did, Halloween movies this past year. This year it's going to be drug-induced frenzied animals.
For our bumpers at church?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
We're going to do some CGI, maybe some bad costuming.
Maybe we would show some kids on cocaine. It'd be good.
Yeah.
It's right up Rusty's alley.
Do you volunteer your kids?
Absolutely.
Lily can't.
Absolutely.
Not on cocaine. I need downers for my kids.
You know,
They-
get some sleep aid.
yeah. Good old melatonin. Well, I don't really know how to end this episode.
That just happened.
Yeah.
I
So
think by cutting that last 5 minutes out.
I can do that. Yeah.
No,
Listen,
it's
as the
good.
children's director, I should say I do not support children taking cocaine.
I mean, as a human
Now you're
being,
the mother of the year.
As a human being, I don't support people taking cocaine. But
right.
yeah. So I mean, animals though. Let's see what happens.
Why not?
Put them
No.
in a cage, let them fight. If we're doing it, let's do it, right?
I said healthy doses. I don't want to kill the animal. I just want to see like, does cocaine have the same effect on an animal that it has on a person?
The ganja guinea pig.
Just doing
They just
slang.
they
for-
just sleep.
Yeah, we're just doing and eat.
They're asleep and eat.
Yeah. Well, that's all they do anyway.
the
Yeah.
Adderall,
And if you remember
Anaconda.
my previous story about guinea pigs, bleed out their rear ends until they die.
Maybe that's what happened. It got into some drugs.
Mm-hmm. Cocaine.
So we already know what happened there.
All right.
All right.
Well, we're not going to show that movie. Have a great couple of weeks. We'll get back to you if we're not canceled.